readers, welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I'm Lori, and I'm happy that you're here. And if this is your first time, welcome. Take a look around, subscribe if you like what you see, and click the little bell at the top of the web page so that you get a notification every time a new video is uploaded. Today's video is all about what I read in April. Now, I am pleased to say that I read 8 books in April, which for me is, that's pretty huge. I have not read 8 books in a month in a long, long time. Definitely probably when I wasn't working. Probably not even when I was in college and reading for school. It was an incredible reading month, and not only because of the quantity of books that I read, but really also because of the quality of the books I read. I did a couple of readathons. I will do a little bit of a wrap up of those two. This might be a really long video, so I would suggest you grab a cup. This is one of my favorite old cups from Pier 1. I love a square cup. So get something to drink, whether it's coffee or tea or wine or a beverage. And let's get started with the month of reading. So the first book that I read this month, I don't have on my copy at this time. I lent it to a friend, and that book is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I did a bit of a wrap up on that, so I won't go into great detail, but Eleanor Oliphant is a kind of a wacky character who has some social challenges with folks at work, and she begins to make some changes in her life as a result of identifying something she thinks she wants. And it's a lovely romp, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read was The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. This was also a part of my book list readathon TBR. This had been on my shelf for a while, and a couple of people I knew read it and loved it, and the only reason that I guess I need to take my bookmark out of it now. The only reason I hesitated to read it was because I knew it was probably going to be sad. Anytime there's a dog on the cover of a book, I get concerned that it's going to be sad. It was at times hard to read, and it starts out challenging and emotionally challenging, but it was really well done. I flew through it. I gave it, I think I read it in a day and a half, maybe less, and I gave it 5 stars as well. The third book I read for book list readathon was Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I listened to this on Audible and read the ebook from my library, so I don't own a physical copy or even an ebook copy, but I did. It is available on multiple venues. I really liked it too. I have to say that my book list readathon reading, all 3 of the books I read were 5 stars. So Little Fires Everywhere is, I think I did a bit of a synopsis on this too, but it's written in a city in Michigan, I think, yeah. And a family, a woman and her daughter moved to this community. The daughter starts school there. They rent a home from a couple who has 4 children, and they develop a relationship with that couple because the mother decides she will clean and cook for them because their person quit. And she's also an artist, and she's a pretty fantastic artist, but there's just a lot going on in this book. Suffice it to say, there's a deep character development. Even though there are multiple characters, there's a lot about love and relationship between mom and daughter and girlfriend and boyfriend, and a relationship between the longing to have a child and the challenges of having children. And it's just rich and beautiful, and I can't wait to read another book by Celeste Ng. Then I picked up Everything You Want Me to Be by Mindy Magia. I got this in a book haul last month, and it's a short paperback. It's an interesting size. It's a murder mystery. It starts out with a body being found. Well, it starts out with a girl narrating about running away, and then later a body is discovered, and there are lots of questions about how she died and who she was with, and there's a detective who's friends with her mom and dad who's assigned to the case. I think he's the chief of police. There's lots of intrigue and some twists and turns, and I enjoyed it a lot. I gave it 4 stars. An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen was the next book I picked up. I read The Wife Between Us last year and enjoyed it, and so I was looking forward to this. I did get this hard copy from the library. I also listened to it, so I did a combination of both. The last 100 or so pages I flew through. I definitely got to a point where I wanted to see what happened. This follows a girl who is a makeup artist, and she's struggling financially, and she finds out about a study at NYU or a New York school at college, and she wants to participate in exchange for being paid. So she arranges to make that happen. And I won't tell you anything else. It's a psychological thriller, very, very well done. I really found myself enjoying this. I gave it 4 stars. Now, my surprise 10-star read, because again, 10 stars. Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. It's Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. It's a middle grade novel. I got this one from the library too. I may do a separate review on Nevermore and the sequel to it, which I just acquired, but suffice it to say, this one too, I read in about 2 days. I could not put it down. I love these characters. I love the magical atmosphere. I love the humor. I love the pacing, and there was just nothing that I would have done differently. It gave me some or would have wished to have differently. I would love to have written something like this, but it gave me a Harry Potter vibe. Yes, there are some similarities, but no, it's not a clone of Harry Potter in my estimation, and I can't wait to read the sequel next month, or this month. Yeah, it's already May, this month. Next, I read Elevation by Stephen King. It's a very short novella. I listened to it. It was about 3.5 hours, I think, to listen to, narrated by Stephen King, which was interesting. And I was delighted by it. It has gotten some mixed reviews. It's not horror. It's a story about a man and his neighbors and his community. And he has some sort of affliction where he's losing weight fairly rapidly, but his body isn't changing. It's not like Thinner. My daughter, when she heard me tell her about it, first said, "Is it like Thinner?" I think she read Thinner some years ago. No, it's not, but it's really neat. It's a uplifting story. It's a surprise to me how cute it is. I gave it 4 stars, probably 4.5 if there was an ability to do that. I really think that Stephen King is a fantastic writer. He can really tell a story, in my opinion, and he's been a favorite of mine since I was a teenager. So I definitely recommend Elevation, and especially if you like to listen to a book or even read it, because it's quick. It's a quick read. I did have a couple that were pretty quick, so that helped me to get 8 in this month for sure. And then last night, on April 30th at 11:40 in the evening, I finished Byrd Box by Josh Malerman. I had seen the movie already, and I wanted to read the book. And when I was in the library the other day, getting an Anonymous Girl so that I could do the double listen and read, this was sitting on the shelf available, and I thought, why not? It's pretty tiny too. It's a little over 200 pages, maybe 260 or so. I did listen to a little bit of it, but most of it I read, and I really devoured it. My daughter also, my youngest daughter also finished it in like a day and a half. I think I finished it in mostly one day, one sitting. It's a horror for sure. And I would say I didn't find the movie as scary as I did the book. Now, the fact that I finished it up at 11:40 and was reading it voraciously from about 8:30 on is probably contributed to the scariness. But it is a little bit more graphic and a little bit scarier, I think. And it was very satisfying. I gave it 4 stars. And the only reason I didn't give it 5 is because I found it a little difficult at times. It goes back and forth, as the movie does. It goes back and forth from past to present. And there were times where it didn't do that fluidly in some, if I'm making myself clear. So it went from present to past to a different past to another to the other past to the present. It was a little bit hard sometimes for me to recognize what was happening when, but it had a great conclusion. It really, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I am really intending to read more by Josh Malerman too. I love horror, and it is in my goals this year to read a little bit more horror than I have in the last couple of years. So I think Josh Malerman will help me to do that. Yep, that's all 8. Now, I did, as I said earlier, complete the book list readathon earlier in the month, and then I also participated in the Magical Readathon, and I was taking my owls for advancement at Hogwarts. If you don't know what that is, take a look at another video, and I'll link in the video in the description box below. I'll link if you don't know what that is, I will link the original readathon post below because it's really exciting, and she did a lot of work. So essentially, there were 12 prompts in this readathon, and they were all connected to one of the owls from Harry Potter, one of the tests that you took to advance on to the next level at Hogwarts. And so they each had a prompt. So I'm going to go through them and tell you which ones I fulfilled and which ones I did not. So the first one is Ancient Ruins, and I did not fulfill that prompt. It was to read a retelling, and I had a retelling that I could have read, and I picked it out generally, but I didn't get to it. The next one is Arithmancy, which is a work written by more than one author, and so An Anonymous Girl by Sarah Pekkanen and Greer Hendricks fulfilled that owl. Astronomy was the next one, and this prompt was star in the title. Now, I was very creative with this. I had a book with the word star in the title, but I didn't get to it. But Elevation, the cover of it, has stars that flow through the word elevation and all along the cover of the book. So star is in the title, and that's how I'm counting my astronomy prompt. Care of Magical Creatures was a land animal on the cover, and Nevermore fulfilled that prompt because the Magnificat, if you can see him there, is on the cover of this book. So that one is complete. Charms, which is age line, read an adult work. I did read Everything You Want Me to Be to fulfill that prompt. Defense Against the Dark Arts was a Reducto, a title that starts with R. I did not fulfill that prompt. Herbology was a book with a plant on the cover and little flyers everywhere, has a tree and then some plants in the suburban painting that's on the cover of that book. So I did fulfill that prompt. The History of Magic is a book that was published at least 10 years ago. And so for that prompt, The Art of Racing in the Rain fulfilled it for me. And Muggle Studies prompt was to read a contemporary, and I chose Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. The other 2 prompts were Potions, which is next ingredient sequel. I wanted to finish Wondersmith to fulfill that prompt, but I'm not going to make it. Clearly, I didn't make it. And Transfiguration was sprayed edges or a red cover. I had picked out a book to fulfill that prompt, which was A Room of One's Own, but I was not able to fulfill that. So I read 8 books in the month of April, and I fulfilled 8 of the 12 prompts for the Magical Readathon. I enjoyed every single one of them, as well as participating in those readathons. In the month of May, which I will do a video on what I plan to read in May, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do a readathon. I really want to just do something a little bit more spontaneous. And so I may not even have a TBR. I may have a loose, tight TBR. Future Lori, for a second, the library called and said that my reserved copy of Daisy Jones and the Six is ready. So I'm definitely going to read that in May. Yay! I don't know. I'll think about it today and let you know soon. But for now, take a look at these books if you haven't already and they interest you. Comment below about those that you would like to read, those that you have read, those that you liked or didn't like. And tell me what you're reading or what you read in the month of April. And if you participated in either of these readathons or another readathon, I'd love to hear what you thought about your participation. As always, thank you so much for being a part of my virtual booktube world. And I wish you a very happy reading day. Bye.